All right.
Hello.
Things.
Things and stuff and stuff and things.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'm going. Good. So what's going on, everybody?
It's just yesterday was my daughter's 6th birthday, so it's been a whole lot of, Barbies and LOL, and so it's like.
Well, what better way to?
There's new dolls and they're LOL, they're LOL dolls, and she loves them.
Of course.
No.
She loves them, and so it's a good way to kind of talking about the album we're going to be talking about is a good way to kind
Cleanse
of
the palate
back into the
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing my daughter takes dance classes, and so today we actually went and saw their performance of Nutcracker, which was fucking incredible. I mean, the costume designs. I mean, she used to be at a different school, and we went and saw one of their performances, and it was, what you'd expect from like a bunch of, 6 and 5-year-old kids, not really putting out any effort and, pretty much screwing up nonstop.
Right.
This was, it's kids from high school down, and it was, I was mind blowing. I can't believe, I was trying to find where they screwed up, and I think I've noticed twice where it was just like, a foot was off, in a placement. But it was just, I mean, I love Tchaikovsky, and I love, that ballet. So, yes, we're starting off this episode
Barbies and ballet.
talking about Barbies and ballet. So.
Perfect.
That's perfect. That's fucking hostile right there.
But it was a great performance, and it put me in a very, very good mood.
Well, good. I mean, look, man.
That is another thing, because I've been in a horrible mindset for the last week. So listening to this album pretty much nonstop, it's been pretty good for that aspect of my
some therapy.
Yeah. It's just I mean, let's face it. This album, it's it's one of the best metal albums that's ever been made. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
You want to grade it now?
A+. Good night.
Please give me a break. I mean, we already can gamble. I'd be willing to bet that no one is going to give this below A+. I mean, how many pluses are going to be on the end of this fucking thing?
It's definitely a plus.
Absolutely
Yes.
Well, so I think the way this is going to go, or at least there'll be 2 parts. This will be part 1. I think what I was thinking is this would be more of we'd spend the first part just talking about
dancing.
Yeah. Ballet. And
Tchaikovsky.
Dolls, and that's exactly how I thought it was going to go. And lols.
and then I mean, once we'll end up at the 1812 overture, and the cannons will start going off, and then
So
perfect.
That's for our Dio show, because they actually did play that.
Did they really?
Yeah.
There aren't any words to it.
It was like it was just a musical solo or an instrumental.
I think Dio just stood there like.
I couldn't see him. I seriously couldn't see him from where we were. It was at Merriweather, but then they opened for Maiden.
Wait, I was at that show.
Yeah, they went into part of the 1812 overture. It was I think it started with a drum solo, and then they all kind of came in and.
Did they borrow AC/DC's cannons or something for that?
I don't think there were cannons, but it wasn't quite as dramatic. There could have been dancing too.
It sounds like an Yngwie thing more than a Dio thing.
He's the classic, classical guitar guy. But.
Yeah,
they dwell in the same area of metal cheese.
Yes,
absolutely,
that's true. Yeah, that is true. Yngwie had an album with a dragon on the front. So
yes, he did. I own that record.
Just one?
Well, at least one that I am aware of. There could be more, but I only know of one.
Owned that record, I should say, not owned that record. What was it, Rising Power or something like that?
Rising Force,
I
think.
Yeah. He was on a cliff.
Should we do a breaking news thing for the Tally Ho last night?
Breaking news happening right now.
Do we have the
TV sound? Yeah, do we have it?
Oh, I have that. Yeah, hold on.
You should have it.
Yes, I do. Hold on.
Although I don't really have a lot of new info other than what I sent to Eric. I don't know if you heard, Tim.
No.
Or Keith.
I don't know what you're going to say. Yeah,
You son of a bitch.
Oh, where
man.
did the article go? Oh, well.
Hold on.
It was
I thought I had it
mostly
saved in my
Oh, I can go to the Telegram.
Yeah,
Link.
I thought I had the news thing saved in my jingle palette, but apparently I don't.
What the fuck is a jingle palette?
It comes with the wall dolls.
Oh my god! Half of Pantera would be rolling in their graves, or are.
There it is. Yeah, they would.
Somewhere in time. News. You hear it first.
First. Well, you probably didn't hear it here first because this is as we're recording it. This happened. What last night, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the 18th.
Right here, right down the road from me at Tally Ho Theater.
In Leesburg, Virginia.
Eric and I have been there several times for the C bands.
We've performed there.
We did play there, actually. You're right.
Yeah.
Jimmy Chocolate Chalfant. I don't know how to say his name. I should have practiced that first. But the Kicks drummer, he collapsed on stage last night.
Oh.
Had a heart attack, apparently, they said. And some people said there was CPR that was done. As far as I know, he's still alive.
There was a statement from Kicks today. Obviously, they postponed. It was a 2-night stint or whatever you want to call it. But they postponed, obviously, tonight's gig. But in the statement, it said that they're still not sure if it was a heart attack or not.
Huh.
So he's going through all sorts of tests, and they're doing some stuff with his heart just to make sure he's okay. But
if there was CPR happening, his heart stopped.
Yeah, they did say that his heart did stop. So
it's often due to a heart attack, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But he has had a heart attack before.
Oh, has he?
Stents placed, yeah.
I wonder if it's in the family.
And Brad Divins also suffered from heart. Must have been that band. Rocking too hard.
They're cursed.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. We wish him well. Hopefully,
hope he's doing okay.
Yeah.
That's how Nick Menza passed away, was performing.
Drumming is hard. And then as you get older.
Yeah, it's very physical.
Yeah.
Well, and apparently it happened right after his drum solo, too.
Which is a good reason to stop doing drum solos.
Yes.
Across the board.
Nobody really wanted to watch it anyway, probably. And now...
Well, I think they had like 2 more songs, and that was it. So the show was basically over. So
everyone they pretty much got their money's worth, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, they did. I mean, look, and our friend Chris DiChiara from Eyes of the Nile and Dr. Fu, and he's in a band with the singer from Eyes of the Nile, who's also been on this podcast. Naveed, Sorrow and the Spire, and they actually opened the show last night.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Did American Jet Set play as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Their drummer is an old friend of mine.
There were 2 bands. Or 3
Sorrow
bands,
and Spire open, right? Or
Sorrow and Spire. They had like a 30-minute set, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they were.
They're good.
Band. Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, I like their stuff.
Yeah.
So the statement from Kicks is Kicks drummer Jimmy Chalfant is awake, alert, resting comfortably, and in good spirits in the hospital after collapsing toward the end of our performance at Tally Ho Theater in Leesburg. While clearly a cardiac event while it was clearly a cardiac event, it is unknown at this time whether or not Jimmy actually suffered a heart attack. We'll be undergoing a series of tests to determine exactly what in fact occurred. The second scheduled performance has been postponed, blah, 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 blah. Kicks appreciates the outpouring of love and concern for Jimmy and thanks everyone for their courteous understanding in this matter. So
that sucks.
Yeah,
but I'm glad he's not, he's doing all right, because that's scary shit.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Nick Menza he died that way, so.
That's how he died.
Yeah. Isn't that how Vinnie Paul died as well?
He had an enlarged heart. He died in his sleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But also a heart situation.
Spinal Tap drummers? It's a dangerous job.
All right. Let's. We are talking about people's actual deaths. Let's not get into the comedy bits.
Yeah, that's true.
Be a little respectful here, guys.
Well, go fuck yourself.
Wow.
But hey, it was a good segue into what we're talking about with Vinnie.
Well, there was. Did you guys hear the Dave Mustaine news? There was more Dave Mustaine news.
That the stuff with him and Hetfield.
Yeah, the Hetfield thing.
No, what?
He claims Yeah, he claims that a while back, I'm not sure when, he didn't give a timetable, but he said that there was a project in the works with Hetfield. Yeah. And he said that Hetfield came to him and said, our last 3 projects bombed, and it'd be great to work with you again. Which
that
I'm like,
is such fucking bullshit.
Yeah. So then he said, basically what happened was the project fell apart because they got into this whole thing with royalties. And basically, Mustaine said, I'm not doing anything with you until you clear up that bullshit with the Kill 'Em All stuff and No Life to Leather, where Lars says he has co-writing credits on these songs when he definitely does not. And Hetfield said, well, his recollection of that is different than yours. And Mustaine's like, well, whatever. There's 2 sides to every story. And Mustaine said that was it. This is all from Mustaine, of course. So,
of course,
grain of salt. Big grain of salt. But he claims that there was a project in the works that fell through because of past issues with royalties.
We could probably figure out the timeline if that's the No Life to Leather reissue thing was like what, 2019 or something like that?
I think it was 2014 or 15 when that came out.
Oh, really?
I didn't even know there was one.
Well, I don't think it was a
cassette.
Oh, that's right. It was a cassette.
I have it over here. It is.
But I think they couldn't release everything that they wanted to because of Mustaine's issues.
Yeah. If you're on YouTube, this is the reissue of No Life to Leather. This is it.
That's
cool.
Yeah.
This should have been a box set. It should have been a big box set with all kinds of goodies, but because of royalties, we got a cassette. So anyway,
which most people don't have a cassette player these days. So
yeah, and I think if there were 3 things that like bombed, it could have been Lulu. And
maybe the Orion Fest.
Through the Never and the Orion Fest would be the 3 things I can think of in recent memory that would be considered quote unquote bombs.
Well, Lulu was the last thing before Hardwired, so that would be...
so these aren't, he wasn't talking about collaborations with himself. No. He's saying Metallica's collaborations with...
Yeah,
he was saying there was going to be a collaboration between Hetfield and Mustaine. Hetfield was
right, but he was making a reference.
Yeah, Mustaine said Hetfield told him that there were 3 projects that their last 3 projects bombed, meaning Metallica's last 3 projects.
So it'd be Hardwired anyway.
What is it? Who was anybody clamoring for this anyway? Like,
no?
I don't think.
Well, I guess the commenters on Facebook were
the Mustaine wrote them all guys were.
Yeah.
Oh,
but if
you mean everyone? That's everyone.
If Mustaine's lackeys are so proud of him, why would they want him to lower himself to the standards of Hetfield?
Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
I don't know. This is all utter bullshit. Anyway, so
that's true.
It is.
I would.
We're speculating on bullshit.
If
I'd be curious for sure.
Oh yeah, of course I would listen to it. Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't?
I wouldn't.
Exactly.
Fuck that guy.
Okay.
Fuck that motherfucker. I haven't
if it
listened
was
to their album.
Hetfield
I'm not
singing, with like some Mustaine solos.
Nah.
I think there's just
I mean, please tell me if they were going to be working together that Mustaine wouldn't do any vocals.
Who knows? His ego is so out of control. He might be like, let's just trade off vocals, man.
Well, when we get into the Pantera,
you do the harmony.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff that I've pulled that actually Pantera talks about Mustaine and Megadeth a little bit. So we got some stuff because they toured with them. After Vulgar Display came out. So
on that.
They toured before, didn't they, too? On the live recording, he talks shit about Mustaine, too.
That's what I was going to say. You're talking about the Zax one?
Mm-hmm.
Because he says this is about a band that starts with M and it's not Metallica. He says that before Walk.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's got to be Megadeth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That was an explosive...
Maybe it's Motley Crue.
Yeah.
We thought about that later, but we were pretty sure he was talking about Megadeth.
Based on the timing and
Well, let's get into it. We'll start the episode and we can continue that conversation.
Brush your teeth with this.
We could take the makeup off. I'll bet you we could take the makeup off and it wouldn't make any difference.
You're crazy. When we take the makeup off, you're nuts.
Mellifluous.
What about the Alice in Chains action figures?
Yeah, I've been making some of me for the chicks. Just a taste of what's going to happen to the rest of your stinking planet. Your civilization is obsolete, my man.
Gee, we could take off the makeup. I mean, basically, when we started as a band. We started to play rock and roll, and that's what we could do.
Without the makeup, I think you're nuts.
I think that's good.
Why do you want to show it to you anyway?
There is similitude.
Ricky, quick.
Will you try to take my photos?
Let me see your cigarette lighter.
All right, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
Welcome back to Somewhere in Time Podcast, everybody. SomewhereInTimePodcast.com. That's where you find us online. All of our episodes are streaming there. Links to our social media, links to YouTube. So yeah, check us out there, SomewhereInTimePodcast.com. I'm Eric. We've got Tim here.
Yo.
Keith is here.
Good evening.
And Joe is here.
Hey, Keith, I don't really want you to go fuck yourself. For the record.
I thought we would, but maybe we could do that together.
Oh boy.
Weird already.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my.
So let's see here. We went through Barbies, ballet, and sexuality.
Well,
Pantera.
Yeah. Yes, so if you haven't figured it out by now, this episode we're going to be talking about Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera. This will be the first of 2 episodes dedicated to this album. So let's get into it. Let's play a little bit of this album. I mean, we could just pick a song, right? I mean, fucking amazing.
We should hear every single one of these. So just start at the
We're
beginning.
going to eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to fade that out there. We've got a lot to talk about. But so Pantera is Philip Anselmo on vocals. Diamond Daryl, if you look at the liner notes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Before he
wasn't Dimebag yet.
He hadn't tried marijuana yet.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Daryl Abbott on guitars, Rex Brown on bass, and Vinnie Paul Abbott on drums. And this album was produced, of course, by Terry Date. I think he did everything, actually. Produced, engineered, mixed, all that good stuff. Because
probably produced and engineered and mixed by Terry Date and Vinnie Paul.
There you go.
According to the CD.
Yes. There was a lot that went into this album, and they were, I know that, just reading articles and looking at, watching different YouTube things about the making of this album, they were very, very meticulous about their approach here. They kind of knew what they wanted. So, but yeah, where do you guys want to start? I mean, there's so much to cover here. So, like,
production, maybe album cover.
We can do album cover.
There's stories about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's better than Anthrax's.
Yes, by a mile.
Yeah. Well, that's a horrible drawing, and this is a legitimate guy that got punched a lot of times.
He didn't really, though.
That's false.
That's
that
false?
Is false. Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's a myth. That was a hoax.
That was a hoax, right?
So I actually have a couple.
So
of
then you guys tell me the story, because
Well, here, I'll let the actual guy who photographed it tell you the story.
The man on the cover was paid $10 a punch and was hit in the face 30 times to get the right picture.
31 times. 31 times.
That's Vince.
According to Vinnie Paul, the man on the cover of Vulgar Display of Power was paid $10 a punch
He was hit in the
And this
face
is
31
Rex.
times. This is one of the most widely disputed.
2 times.
32.
That's right.
Yeah, he got hit a bunch.
I've heard the stories, and
this is the photographer.
People have asked me many times, but that's not what happened. It was a professional photo shoot. He was pushed quite hard, actually, because I really wanted it to look physical. So he was pushed really hard, each and every time, but he was never punched.
Yeah. So I think the band members played into that myth a little bit.
For sure.
Because it sounds much cooler.
Oh, yeah. We knocked the fuck out of this guy.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, no, I mean, the album cover definitely represents the album really well. I mean, it's a fucking punch to the face.
Photographer's name was Brad, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Geese? Or Geese? Geis? Guice?
Yep.
Yeah, that's who was talking there.
And he was a pastor, right?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if he was then, but he is now.
He is now, yeah. And it was supposed to be, well, he shot the photo in color, and it was shot on film, of course, back then, and he got the prints back, and he's like, holy shit, this is like just gorgeous. These colors are amazing. And he's like, I'm so proud of this, and then he gets the album, and it's like black and white and like pixelated. He's like, oh,
what did they do?
Yeah, they ruined it. But I think it's probably better this way, though. It's, it looks more tough, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that previous album cover was, which I think he also did.
He did.
He did. Yeah.
He did.
That was also black and white, so it's kind of got a. Or I don't know if it's black and white.
It's like sepia, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's it kind of follows along there.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say this album cover, really, they say, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, you could definitely judge this album from this album cover.
Yep.
Yeah.
They really nailed what they should have had on the front of it.
There's a little bit more I have from Vince and Terry Date talking about the album cover, so I'll play that here too.
We wanted it to be a street fight.
I remember Dime taking a picture of a face and putting it on his dad's copy machine and taking the face as it was copying and moving it so it blurred across like the cover does.
First thing they brought us were all these pictures of these boxers fighting each other. And it's like, no.
Oh, okay.
That's not what we're looking for. That's not what Vulgar Display of Power is. It's some guy getting jacked on the street.
Yeah. So that was mostly Vince, Paul, and Terry Date was one talking about Dime putting the thing on the copier. But yeah, it's impactful, and it like you said,
yeah,
Keith,
no pun intended.
Yeah. The album title, which Vulgar Display of Power. I always thought, the first Pantera home video. There's a bunch of interviews and stuff, and there's a moment where it feels like, I think it's in one of our intro or outro or something, but he goes, "It's a vulgar display of power," is what it is.
Yeah. I
always thought that was him coming up with that on the fly, but it's actually from The Exorcist.
Yeah. The way he says it sounds so ad-libbed.
Well, I'm gonna reference this magazine a lot. This came with this year. I got the Revolver released a 30th anniversary of the album, and this magazine came with it, and it's full of
Is that the picture from the back of the CD? The cover? Isn't
I
that
don't
on the
think
back?
so. I think it's a little bit different. The one on the back is a little different. I think it's the same photo shoot.
Okay.
Because Phil's like pointing.
He's wearing the Mind Over 4 shirt.
And he's pointing down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So same photo shoot, but anyway, there's a lot that I'm gonna. Not a lot. There's a few things I want to reference from this magazine, but yeah. And I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I know what it was. Phil was saying that he did that kind of came to him in that interview, but then he realized later, he's like, oh shit, that was subconsciously, I took that from The Exorcist. So he just had forgotten, but he did think it was off the top of his head. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, you want to talk about production. I mean, that's about as perfect a sounding album as you're going to get. I mean,
for that year, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Terry Date album.
I think the next album sounds a little better, but this one, it's not like this one's bad by any means. It sounds great.
I mean, it blows away the production on
Cowboys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounded pretty good too. But
I mean,
they kept getting better. They kind of kept getting better. The sound. I don't know. Maybe what's the one after Far Beyond Driven?
Southern Shrinkville.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's. Oh, we're kind of we're really splitting hairs in that one.
Yeah, they all sound good.
Yeah.
But there's like
the Terry Date ones.
There's a lot of like technical pieces, and I'll play a couple clips about this too. But like, just how like precise they wanted to get with this, like the bass drum sound and the guitar tone and all that stuff. You can tell like they put a lot into this. So, because I mean, to this day, it sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that bass drum sound. I know that Metallica had Black Album, and that was pretty.
Even Justice had the poppy,
true,
snappy bass drum sound.
Well, I think the bass guitar sounds better on the subsequent albums. I think he figured out his sound a little better, or they figured it out to kind of cut through a little more. There's like a little distortion, maybe. That would be my only thing that doesn't sound perfect on this.
Yeah.
On this mix.
Yeah. Well, here I'll play a little bit of. This is Terry Date talking about. Actually, I think it's. The band and Terry Date talking about in the studio, I think.
Vulgar Display of Power was the most important record of our career.
We had just played 338 days on the Cowboys run and went directly into the studio. I think we might have had 3 weeks off. So we were red freaking hot.
We worked with one of the best record producers I've ever worked with, Terry Date.
They did things on their own terms. They didn't care about what major labels or what other people were telling them to do. They did what they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it. The work ethic was pretty intense. Our hours were 12, 13, 14, maybe longer. I remember a lot of sunrises on that record.
Signified our first true album of what was to come.
Yeah.
Is that slow mode there?
I know. He sounds so
cool.
He's slowly turning into Thanos, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're still in production. There's a couple more clips I want to play about I was talking about Dime and his like how precise he wanted to get. So here's Terry Date talking about
Dime
that.
was a perfectionist. Tone was a big deal, but the tone, his ability to hear minute things and sounds was pretty incredible. We would many times make mixes where I would raise a fader the width of one pencil mark, just a minute amount, because he could hear it a little louder. And I was thinking that nobody could hear this, but then I'd play it back for him with the different versions, and he got it right every time. He knew exactly what he wanted to hear.
It's funny because Dime is my favorite guitar player. I've said that many times on this show, but I do think his guitar tone is it's good, but it's weird. Like it doesn't sound like anyone. You can tell when it's a Dime guitar tone because it's like
absolutely.
It's a little bit hot. There's a little hollowness to it. Like it's not the same like bass heavy, Hetfield type distortion.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's, Joe, you were saying we're kind of like nitpicky. It is kind of nitpicky of me to say this, but it's, it's not my favorite tone ever, but he's still my favorite guitar player. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
Aren't their tunings a bit odd?
I was gonna try to learn some of. I was actually gonna try to learn all the songs, and then I gave up because their tuning it's like in between, like normal standard. I forget what the number is. Frequency number, like negative 440 or whatever they said in that article I sent you guys. But it's slightly flat compared to what we would consider standard tuning, but it's not quite a half step down. It gives them their own like little spot, I guess, in your ear that you kind of know it's Pantera subconsciously.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about the tracks, because there's a clip I want to play about this producer guy, Rick Beato. He's on YouTube. I think you've seen some of the stuff, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He covers Walk, and he talks a little bit about that. The fact
Okay,
that,
cool,
like,
yeah. Well, they did that on the previous album too. If you've ever tried to learn anything off of Cowboys from Hell, it just sounds a little wrong unless you tune right to the album.
Yep. I remember learning Domination, and that was like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Like, I can't.
I'm tuned right. Why is it?
So if you're a guitar player and a bass player, do you have to be in the same room together to get the tuning correct? Because you're not.
Pretty
You
much.
just have to. I mean, you have to tune to the album, but
I mean, like if you were in the band, if you're in Pantera and Dime and Rex are in the same, is that how you would say, well, we got to tune? You're not going to just say, we'll do E.
I don't know what they did
tuning
in the room. I don't know how. Like, let's go to E, and then I'm going to knock it down slightly, and then you tune to me. Like, I guess that's the only way they could do it. It's not like they were. Be. I mean, I'm sure now you could program a tuner to whatever you want. But back then, there's no way you had that technology. You had the Boss tuner pedal. Is what you went with.
Knowing Dime, he just one day just like, this is the way I'm going to tune now, and it just stuck.
I don't know if that was did they have that tuning live, or was that?
I'm sure they did.
Just an album.
I haven't checked, but I doubt they.
Yeah, there's no way they didn't. You know, if you do that for your song, you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
For every single time you perform it.
I mean, it's not like Metallica tunes down a little, like half a step, don't they?
Yeah,
like
they tune down half a step.
Live.
Yeah, live. They're live.
Yeah.
All their so just for Hetfield's vocals, so they sound in tune with the guitars. But
and the albums until Death Magnetic.
Yeah.
So everything from
load
to
reload. Yeah, so it's really three. Well, I don't know what St. Anger was.
Well, St. Anger's like C sharp.
It's all dropped. Yeah, it's some fucked up.
That album's not canon, so we don't talk about it.
It's canon.
There's no bass player. Well, there's a bass player, but we don't talk about that.
He's not canon on that album as a bass player.
No. Anyway. All right. Well, let's see. There's some other clips here I can play. Construction of the song. This is Terry Date talking about that.
Dime would have riffs, or Vinny would have a drum pattern, or Rex would have something. And they would come in with a basic idea, and we would sit and we'd work on that, starting from the beginning of the song. And these are the days of tape, so we would put on a reel of tape, and we'd record an intro to a song, and until we were happy with it in a demo stage, and then we would punch in the next section of the song until we were happy with it, and we would continue through the arrangement of the song, writing as we went. And when we had it what we thought was right in a demo phase like that, just punching through it, rough editing all the way through it, then we would make a rough mix and we'd go drive around with it.
That was a big thing for them, wasn't it? The car test.
Oh yeah,
they had to take it out to the car and
we should have done that when we did the Instinct demo.
Yeah,
that would have been a good idea
because it was like, whoa, the bass on this thing.
Yeah.
And not the bass guitar, just all the bass.
The
tone. All the low end, yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're not listening to the fancy speakers, it
not
really
good.
comes through. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to stay too much on the production. I kind of want to talk about like just leading up to this album. Like there was so much anticipation to this album.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we should probably talk about the Zax, whatever you want to call it, the Zax show we saw.
Zax, yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, God, that was what, like maybe 2 weeks before the album came out, or maybe up
so.
to a month.
About that.
Yeah, probably, yeah, because it was freezing cold out. So.
Yeah. Oh, and he talks about the Super Bowl, and so the album came out February 25th, 92.
I think the show was in January, very end of January.
Yeah, it was like a week before the Super Bowl because he's talking about on the bootleg. He's like, "Who do you think's gonna win the Super Bowl?" And he's like, "Oh, you Redskins are gonna win." Because it was, it was.
What do you say, like by 40 points or something?
Yeah, I think they're gonna crush them. Like the Bills don't have a chance.
And they did.
Yeah,
they did. Yes, 37-24 was the final.
Oh, and those 24 points were garbage time points.
That was garbage time.
Anyway, I don't want to get too off on a tangent too much on that.
Yeah.
But
that was the last great game for the Reds.
The Commanders.
Yes,
we're still sitting here waiting.
I know.
Just like any day now.
30 plus years ago.
It's been 30 years.
But yeah, I mean, we went to that concert. I mean, we were hoping to hear some new stuff, but we had no idea.
We had no idea.
And this was pre-internet. This was pre-YouTube, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
We had
fucking Zax. Like
was it
Zax?
That's
hole in the
Zax.
wall.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, a shithole.
Yes, this is maybe 500 seater.
Maybe
I don't even know. I don't know if it's that many.
In Springfield, Virginia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then became
formerly
Jax.
formerly the Copa, and then Zax, and then Jax, and then
I think
Zax
Zax 2.
Zax 2. Oh yeah.
I think it's an Indian restaurant now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not
Something
a
like that.
anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So the set list was they opened with Heresy, and then immediately.
Oh wait, I forgot you got the set list because you have the recording.
Yeah. So, second song, he's like, "We had a new album coming out. It's called Mouth for War." It's like, holy shit!
Yeah,
this song is fucking awesome. And then they played fucking Hostile. Like, oh my god, what? I mean, we got to hear fucking Hostile before the album even came out. We got to hear the whole first side of the album.
Yeah,
the
more than
thing that
half the album.
Yeah, the thing that dropped our jaws was This Love.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we're just like, oh what?
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, this song is fucking slow and heavy. Well, he wasn't lying.
Nope.
No. I mean, I can try to play a little bit of this. I don't know how well it's going to come off, but
it's rough.
It is rough. I tried to clean it up a little bit, but
do you want to? Should I share why it sounds rough?
Oh yeah, tell us why, Joe.
Well, before the days of cell phone recording, you had to. But before that, bands gave up on things not being recorded, and it was illegal.
It's a big
I guess totally illegal, right?
Yeah, total.
I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on this, but
they were pretty strict at Zax, actually.
It was a little. I don't think it was a micro cassette. I think it was a regular cassette recorder.
Yeah,
but it was pretty small. It just had it was barely bigger than the cassette itself, with a little shitty speaker and a record button on there, and I had to. You got patted down in a place like that. So I had to figure out where I was going to put this tape or this recorder. So I found it. I could nestle it right under my ball sack in my jeans.
Wow.
So you got a ball sack bootleg right here.
Up his ass.
Good thing I didn't fart.
That's what I can do. I give it up my ass.
That hunk of junk up his ass.
Give it to a man. Wanaki.
Give me the watch.
He got dysentery. Passed away. Hey, wow, here's the ball sack recording.
This next song is about having something real beautiful and crawling and pissing all over it. It's a love song, but it's kind of like a reverse love song. This one is slow and fucking heavy. Because we ain't no speed little fucking band. The song is called You Keep This Love.
It's not what it's called.
Anyway. Let me see if I can play a little bit of the end from this recording. I don't know how well it comes off, but let's see. I mean,
yeah.
You can hear the guitar.
Hearing that, though, the first time ever live, holy shit.
I mean,
what?
I listened to, you guys probably did too. I listened to that bootleg enough that when the album came out, I was already familiar with half the album.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And I was like, that's what it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so they played half of the first, they played the first 6 songs off of the 2 albums. Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you needed. I mean, they could have done more, I guess.
Could have done Hollow.
That was like on a Tuesday night or something. Like
a Thursday,
I think.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, so fucking tired the next day.
Yeah.
Just to see a band, and it's not like this was the band like in high school that we were like, these guys are the fucking next Metallica or whatever.
Yeah.
And to see them before they broke huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing.
It's insane.
It's still one of the best. And Wrathchild America was at that show. I don't think they performed, but
no,
they were there,
hanging out.
Like Shannon was there because Shannon got his. I think Shannon got his head shaved on that at that show. It's on the bootleg. You hear someone getting their head shaved. I assume it's Shannon.
Got to be.
So, yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, I mean, like to your point, Joe, like this was the band. You know, when you think about it, Metallica had the Black Album, but after that, from Joe, Keith, and I were all in high school from 90 to 94, right? So in that time span, we got 3 fucking really good Pantera albums. You know, and they were the band. Like when this came out, they shot up into my top 3 bands. Really, it was Metallica and then Pantera. That was pretty much it. Like,
I mean,
this was from 92 to 96. That was like our favorite music coming out was from Pantera because there was nothing from Metallica coming out.
No,
right? Yeah,
and it was like this gap where it's like, well, Pantera's putting out the best music right now because who else is doing it?
Yeah, Maiden was on a way down.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, early 90 Maiden, it's not a good time frame for that band.
Yeah, there wasn't. Testament was pooping out by then. There wasn't a lot. There was Wrathchild and Souls at Zero and Pantera, and then Clutch came along and kind of picked things up a little. We had a few years of Caius, but thrash. There was nothing.
But you guys are talking about this. I mean, that's the whole thing for me. Like I saw, like when under Cowboys, I saw there were a few videos from that album, and I liked it, but I didn't go out and get the album. My brother eventually got Cowboys, but when this one got released, and then all of a sudden, the videos start popping up on Headbangers Ball, it was like, I mean, for those of you that are listening to this, I'm standing there awestruck and like just staring. Like it was just like, what the fuck is this? Jesus Christ! And I mean, seriously, like my brother also he got the Pantera collection. So
I remember after this, all my metalhead friends in high school were like coming to me, telling me about Pantera. I was like, "Fuck you, man! I told you about Cowboys."
Yeah,
I think to quote Phil, "I told you, motherfuckers."
Well, I think this clip, if it's the right one, talks a little bit about. Rex mentioned, I think it's in this. Rex mentioned there was that gap where it was like Metallica's Black Album came out and they looked at that as like an opportunity. Like they're not putting out heavy stuff. Like, I mean, it's still heavy, but it's not like their old stuff. So this is an opportunity for us to kind of take the reins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See if this is the right one.
They really were the ones that were really kind of the bridge
that's Brian Slagle,
gave heavy metal an existence, because when that band was huge in the mid-90s, a lot of people thought metal was dead.
We just slipped through a crack. Metallica just had the Black Album, which I loved. We all did. And then you had Nirvana around that time. We're never influenced by any of that kind of stuff. We had our own sound and what we were doing.
Vulgar Display of Power is my favorite Pantera record.
Kerry King.
To me, it's their Rain and Blood.
That's one of those records that really starts to separate from the pack.
That was Mustaine. Yeah.
No. Oh, he wrote it.
Yep, you gotta say it.
It's kind of weird that Kerry King references his own material as,
Yeah,
it's not weird.
That was their Rain and Blood, because Rain and Blood is the greatest metal album.
It's not weird, and it's not weird that he's great. He's truly friends with Dave Mustaine, is it?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know if he's. No, there was an interview with him where he's like,
well, Mustaine says they're buddies in the book.
Yeah, I don't think they're that close. Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody being friends with that guy.
Mustaine or Kerry King?
Well, either one. They both seem
both are very arrogant motherfuckers.
Yeah. That was a really arrogant thing to say. Damn.
Yeah, well, Kerry King.
Yeah.
The other thing about this album is this is like the first album where Phil's vocals are just fucking hardcore. Like it's not, you don't have any of the screaming. There's no Shattered. There's no Message in Blood.
There's no more Halford on this one at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what makes it so great, I
can't believe some of the screaming notes that he can hit on this. Because he kind of, I would say after this album, there's not really that level of actual singing going on, or you know what I mean? Like the range He kind of got more into a growl after this.
Yeah.
On all his vocals. Probably a lot of it had to do with the fact that I don't think he could hit those notes very well.
Yeah.
Although on their 101 Proof Live album, he still hits the notes pretty fucking good on that. But I'm sure he couldn't do that every night. You know, no. Positive. Like you hear his singing now. It's nowhere near this.
Well, that's what I'm worried about with this whole, whatever you want to call it, reunion / celebration of Pantera they're doing. It's like
everything's going to be tuned down like 2 steps.
Yeah,
exactly.
I hope they don't try to play Cemetery Gates.
If they do, they'll cut it off near the end, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's going to do those vocals.
Just going to something. Just do a bunch of medleys, right?
Yeah, right.
There was a few interviews I saw where they were saying that his vocal style on this kind of ushered in that later 90s, early 2000s kind of Lamb of God style of vocal.
Well, this
like,
album?
Yeah.
Really?
I was like, I don't
buy that.
Really, because he's still hitting notes, like you said. He's screaming, but things are in key, and
you can understand.
There's some some melody still. So
like the end of This Love before the heavy part, where does he say hope at the end?
Hope,
yeah.
Yeah, right. Like some of those notes, he's singing there, like, but screaming at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't know how anybody could do that.
Yeah. I think it's more akin to like they're not a thrash band, but the vocals are a little more of a thrash style where there's still some melody happening, and it's not just like one note. There's he's going up and down. He has a bit of a range, and it's not what Lamb of God does.
No. And there's no one like that these days, really, either. Like, I mean, Corey Taylor is pretty much the closest I could think of that's a vocalist like that now.
Yeah. You know? But he has more of he does a scream, and then he has his,
clean,
his pretty voice.
Yeah.
Like this album is, Phil's singing on this, just the screaming that with the range is, I can't think of really any other album like that.
No, I mean, and I'm trying to look back, like trying to think of other vocalists at the time, even that were.
I mean, Brad Divins maybe a little bit.
A little bit.
He wasn't so much screaming usually. He just kind of had a fry going on,
Yeah.
This is all out just screaming, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way. Like it's good. It's fucking awesome.
It's perfect. It's perfect for this band.
Yeah.
Perfect for this album.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just another thing that makes this album pretty much perfect. All right.
Hey, that's a cool shirt there, Eric.
Oh, thanks.
Speaking of Kerry King, and
that was a Christmas present last year from my son.
Nice.
I don't even know what I got on. Oh, it's Army of Darkness. I think I wear this shirt too much.
Yeah. Not possible.
I found this one for $20.
Nice.
The guy took a picture of it at the Iron Maiden show. Do you remember
That's
that?
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It's like, just wait, I'm going to get a picture. Okay.
Oh, man. Well, we should probably talk a little bit about the drums and bass, too. Like, we've been focusing on vocals and guitars, so. I mean, of course, it's Vince Paul, so the drums are fucking awesome.
We could probably get through Rex fairly quickly. I mean, I think he's a perfect bass player for this band. He's a good bass player. He's really good.
Yeah.
I wish, and I think the remaster is a little better as far as the mixing, which is, I guess, is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
I think it comes through a little more. It cuts through, but I wish there was a little bit more bass in the mix, bass guitar. Because you can only really hear him well when there's a solo going on, and they don't do a second.
Yeah,
guitar
that's true.
track.
That's true.
And he does cool shit, so it would have been nice to hear him a little bit more. I think that's why I think I said this already, why I like the next album's production better.
Yeah.
And he changed his tone up a little, like I said. So it's just a little flat on this one for me.
Yeah, it is a little brighter on the future albums.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
But he's pretty badass for a bass player. He never gets talked about among the great bass players of metal. No. Probably should get talked about more, but oh well.
He's in a band. He was in a band with Dimebag Darrell, so he's gonna go. It's like, oh,
what are you gonna do?
Right. Yeah.
You couldn't have Les Claypool be in a band with Dimebag Darrell.
Right.
No, that would be a little stupid.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's Cliff Williams or something, you know, in Judas Priest's bass player.
No,
I don't know his name, you know. So he's definitely doing cool shit.
Yeah.
And he does backing vocals live pretty well too.
Yeah.
So he's a guy, but he's completely overshadowed by everyone else in this band, isn't he?
Yeah, a little bit, unfortunately. But
somebody's got to be, I guess.
Be a really good gig to have, though, wouldn't it? Like, I wouldn't mind that.
Pretty sweet.
Get to play with Dimebag every night and Vince Paul.
I don't know how much he contributed to writing, but I would assume some.
I think, yeah, he said, well, that song Piss, that's like a bonus track.
Yeah.
He said that was his riff. That main riff in that song was his riff. Yeah. So I think they all, even I think Phil has, I think Phil wrote the main riff of A New Level.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. He was humming it.
Yeah, the da na 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 that thing.
I mean, he can play guitar too, so
yeah, he can.
I thought Dimebag was playing that on a sound check, is what I read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe it's Phil had a part of it and Dime had a part of it, and they kind of
because
there's them.
Yeah, I have a clip on that too. Once we get to the tracks, I'll play that. But,
sorry, I'm thinking of Walk. You guys, yeah.
That's definitely, he was playing that in soundcheck all the time apparently, and everyone loved it. So
yeah. There'll be a lot to talk about when we get to that song.
Yeah.
Well, here's Terry Date on Rex and his bass tone.
Rex has always been one of my favorite bass players, tone-wise and performance-wise. He would get mad at me for sometimes, you know, it's hard to get the bass to come through those guitars sometimes. But Rex and I are still good friends, and we talk pretty regularly. And I didn't know how good he really was until a few years after we'd stopped working together. And I did a recording with him, a separate recording, and it kind of blew me away at how good his tone was, how dialed in he was to the nuances of a bass tone, which is very difficult in this kind of music to really have definition, because lots of times it's just the low octave of the guitars. So it's hard to get that sound to come out. And he had an amazing ability to make that, to make his tone complement and stand out also.
Yeah, like you were saying, Joe, I think you hear that a lot in the solos. Like,
yeah, of course.
And purposely, I think a lot of times he didn't have rhythm guitar during his solos, so that
they could replicate the live sound better too if they didn't have a second guitar.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So drums.
This guy. I mean, this guy basically he writes riffs on drums for some of the shit, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like the intro to Mouth for War right away. Like that would sound totally different with any other drummer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It would have just been a stupid, like, I don't know, double bass and snare or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's matching the riff. I think the Brothers thing.
It's for sure the Brothers thing. Yeah.
Always come back to that with these bands, especially these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some kind of second nature thing happening where they just sort of know what to do. And his stuff's always great to air drum too. Always.
Mm-hmm. He's it's weird. It's like he doesn't you know, a lot of I gotta say the newer metal, but a lot of these super fast double bass guys nowadays, I don't know why the fuck they think that this is the thing to do, is just to match the guitar riff, you know, the rhythm, the right hand of the guitar. It's so irritating. He does it like every so often, but he does it the right amount, and he knows when to just fucking do a kick drum or do something different, you know?
Oh, and some of the songs on this album, the groove is so ridiculous, and he's providing that groove that you know,
probably the most locked in groove metal drummer ever.
Yeah,
you know,
like Regular People, that riff and that fucking the double bass. It's just perfect.
It's awesome.
Oh, he loves the triplet stuff too.
Oh yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he loves that.
Or like the quick tom fills and then a cymbal hit, you know, that kind of stuff.
I still have no idea what he's doing at the in fucking Hostile right before the guitar solo. He does it a few times in that song.
Really?
He does some drum fill. It's like, why is it easy?
I think isn't it just a snare and a double bass thing?
I don't know. It sounds so good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't play it.
I don't think I can play it, but I think I know what he's doing. I think it's just a snare, snare thing, and a double bass thing.
But it's so precise. Like
yeah. And he got technically better on later albums. He does stuff on the later albums. You're like, what?
Oh well,
Becoming. Yeah.
Yeah. I finally figured. I can't play it, but I do know what he's doing. I finally know what he's doing there.
That's the start.
Yeah. I know, and I'm like, I don't want to practice it.
He does this thing at least a couple times on this album where he's kind of just going along with the hi-hat, and then you'll hear him like lift his foot, so it'll start to be an open hi-hat and transition into that, and it's fucking awesome. He does that.
I totally stole that later on. In our band, I stole that.
I think you stole a lot from this guy in our band.
What? No.
Yeah, he does it in a solo for I don't know. We'll get to the tracks. I think it's Rise, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll get to it. He does it in This Love also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were all inspired by this band. I mean,
big time.
For those, 4 years, it was like...
like I said before, it was Metallica forever. And, Metallica's still my favorite band, but this album came out, 2 years after I started really, really focus on, I guess 3 years. I started focusing on guitar, and that Dime quickly became my favorite guitar player just because of the fucking riffs he was writing and the solos he could do that were just fucking
I know,
melodic and just it was immediately this was the guy, and this was the guy I wanted to be like. So
it's weird. I was thinking about that. I was like, Metallica was our favorite band, and that's like, for us, it was like, that's the top shelf. Like, okay, would they go up there? But was Pantera our favorite band for a few years, and we just didn't want to admit it?
Probably. We didn't want to let go. There was like a legacy.
Yeah. Or we can't cheat on Metallica, but
right.
But
Jesus
we
Christ,
probably wore out Pantera albums at a much faster pace than and also because Metallica wasn't putting out nearly as much stuff.
There's this.
So it's like, how many times can I listen to the Black Album and Injustice or whatever? I'm gonna get this new Pantera stuff.
Yeah,
and they were doing stuff with heavy that we hadn't really heard before. Just the simple heavy.
Yeah.
Well, they were definitely a bigger influence on us at the time. I mean, that's when we were writing most of our stuff was. This album came out, and that was, I think Tim, you just started with the band, right? Because because Joe
started in '92. So I just
Eric moved in '92, I think.
Yeah,
so, it was '92.
Yeah.
So you come in and it's like, okay, well, what are we listening to? That's the shit we're going to write is going to sound like what we're listening to, as with any other band. So, a lot of our stuff sounded like Pantera.
The ending has to be slow and heavy.
I can't imagine where we got that from.
No.
Yeah. And there was also there was something about these dudes in this band. Like, they just fucking looked metal and grimy.
And their shows were so much fun. Like, listening back to that bootleg, it's like, it just took me back to that moment. And like, God, it was just, their shows were amazing. And
they were explosive.
Yeah.
And they were always different,
Yeah. It was just loose. It wasn't this rehearsed thing, or it wasn't like, okay, we have to do this song and this song and say, it was all just like.
It wasn't like meet up with Mustaine in the middle and headbang.
No, it was none of that. None of that bullshit. It was just like, Phil's just going to say what he says. They're going to play these songs. They're going to just kick ass.
They're going to be drunk.
And there were no theatrics. There was no pyro. There was nothing special. It was just
just a wall of amps.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
God. I saw them in when I lived in Utah. I saw them in Anthrax and Cold Chamber. But that's one of the best shows I've ever seen. Yeah. Anthrax came out and played like half of Among the Living to open the show. I was like, this is
blue balls. But Anthrax is another band like that too. They just go out and have fun on stage. There's no big fucking bullshit.
No.
Yeah.
They're really good.
These guys go well together, actually.
Yeah, they do.
It was a great show.
Actually, he's on.
He's on like
2 of their albums.
4. It's more than that.
Oh, I know that.
It's like 3 or 4. Yeah.
Actually, the Anthrax version of John Bush is kind of a similar vocal style to Phil. In that,
that's true.
On those albums, those Anthrax
That's
albums.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has that gruff, It's got the
manly
sound. Yeah.
Manly singing, not Dio. Dio or Dickinson. That bullshit.
Yeah, Dickinson sucks.
There's a couple more clips I want to play. This is about the drums and bass, specifically, I think. Let's see. Oh, this is Mike Portnoy. Yeah.
Who?
Portnoy. Mike Portnoy. He's in Dream. He was in Dream Theater.
Vinny's drumming, I remember, was just totally influential for me at that time. He would tape like silver dollars on his kick drums with like a wooden beater and stuff. So I remember I tried that for a little while too.
Rex on the bass, it just warmed it out nicely.
He had an amazing ability to make his tone complement and stand out also.
They had shred, they had Phil as the angry singer, and then they had this groove swagger. So they had three really key components that kind of changed the course of where heavy metal went.
Every single band that exists today has some sort of influence by Pantera.
You won't even listen to it 10 years from now and be like, it sounds kind of old. It doesn't. It even still sounds really modern.
You know, there's albums like that. You know, you have Back in Black, Van Halen 1, and Vulgar Display is definitely one of those type of albums. It's just an absolute classic from start to finish, a perfect album.
Yep. And it is.
It's better than those other two albums.
Which the
Van Halen
and AC/DC. Oh, blows them out of the water.
Oh my God, yeah.
Might be because we like this band more. It's probably just like our opinion, man.
Well.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's the whole premise of this fucking show. That's right.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Listen to these four nerds talk about bands they like.
Hey, there's some bands we don't like.
And sometimes don't like. Yeah.
Or albums.
That's right. They did really push metal in a different direction.
Yeah.
That was a shift. That whole groove thing just kind of took over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time. And it sounds really cheesy to say this, but they did kind of keep metal alive in the 90s. Like, they were flying the flag of metal throughout the 90s. I mean, and they, you know, as annoying as it could be sometimes with Phil, the whole pride thing, like, he was like, we're flying the flag, we're metal and we're proud, and that kind of stuff. Like, so.
Yeah, they did not have a Black Album, did they? They got their other stuff done with, like, their experimental phase out of the way.
The glam thing?
Yeah. I don't mean to equate that with the Black Album. I'm just saying they
yeah, I gotcha.
Like, as soon as, after Cowboys, and then this, and they were just, Pantera was that sound forever.
Yeah,
we'll talk about Far Beyond Driven in a couple of years, but they got even heavier somehow.
Oh yeah,
ridiculous.
It's a weird thing too, because it's a 10-year run.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Yeah,
yeah. Unfortunately,
in terms of album releases,
just almost like the Beatles, right? Just this short little, well, not quite as prolific, but you know, just
it's quick,
small, snippet of time of all their music.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy to think. Like 10 years isn't very long.
No.
Do you have more clips, or do you want to wait for Keith to get back to go into the tracks? Or
there's one more clip I wanted to play about the vocals while we were, you know, maybe we can edit this and post when we were talking about the vocals. But this is kind of a funny clip. This is Mike Portnoy and Gene Hoglan talking about Phil's vocals.
Now you listen to it and it sounds like it's, you know, it's common. Everybody, you know, all the metal bands kind of sound like that. But at the time, those were like pretty brutal vocals.
I watched every single vocalist shave their head, take their shirts off, and wear those khaki half-cut-off military pants. Even Rob Halford turned into Phil Anselmo's look.
It's true.
It's very true.
The fight was basically a Pantera wannabe.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Yeah.
That band. Woo!
I think Mike Portnoy and Tommy Victor must be from the same part of New York.
Gotta be.
God, they sound exactly the same.
Yeah. Buy this record.
And there's another clip I want to play about. I think this is Zakk Wylde talking about Dime. I mean, I could do 2 hours on just talking about Dimebag Darrell, but
do it.
This is Zakk Wylde. I think mostly Zakk. There's a couple other people I think in this, but talking about Dime's legacy.
Dime's legacy as a guitar, it's pretty much right there with Tony Iommi in regards of he's the king of that genre of extreme metal and, you know, the power groove and all that stuff.
He was, breaking all the ground, and he was, you know, the next guitar hero. You had, you know, Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, Dimebag. He was just the next in line for metal guitar heroes, and I don't know if anybody's come close since.
One of the things people don't know about Dime, he had a guitar in his bathroom. I went in his bathroom one time. I sat down. I was like, he's got a guitar, and he's got his little tape. What's that doing in here? I said, Dime, what's the deal with the guitar in the bathroom? He goes, man, that's where I write all my riffs. That's why my riffs are the shit.
Every time I think of Pantera, I think of Dime. I don't feel the spirit of Dimebag ever leaves you. And once you knew Dime, he's with you forever.
That was Frank Bello.
Frank, yeah. You can't tell.
He sounds like Mike Portnoy.
All these New Yorkers.
New Yorkers.
Oh, yeah.
Even Zach Wilde's from, he's Jersey, right?
I think
he sounds a little different.
I think he's Jersey. Close.
Is he Germany?
I know there's all sorts of like virtuoso guitar players out there these days, and like, you know, like I'm sure they're all great, but no one's touched Dime. I don't think. I mean,
I was trying to think like who would be. I don't know.
There's a really good the way in this book, this magazine, I should say, this Vince Paul has a quote, and it was perfect what he said. Let me see if I can find it. I took a picture of it, actually. Let's see. Yeah, Vince Paul says, I think the sound Dime had and the style back then was untouchable. He played with a lot of taste, a lot of heart. He wasn't one of those dudes that just wanted to go fast or make noise. He had soul, and he felt like he could play solos that were like a song within a song. That's perfect. I think that's exactly what how I've always wanted to like verbalize the way I feel about Dime, is like those solos are like a song within a song because they have their own melody. Like he writes these kick-ass riffs or really melodic riffs, and then he has on top of that these like Vince was saying, like a song within a song. It's really a really good way to put it.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people who you consider, you know, like who could be guitar heroes. I mean, there's Mustaine, there's Hammett, there's Skolnick, there's a lot of guys.
Yeah, and they're all great guitar players. I mean, you know, the shit they do is incredible. I could never replicate that, but I don't know. It just doesn't have the feel.
There is something different.
Bigger than life. Yeah.
There's something different about Dimebag in his playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just saying that because he's dead. I don't think any of us are. Like,
no, absolutely.
We knew it at the time too.
Oh yeah.
He had his own sound, his riffs. There's probably copycat bands, but their stuff didn't sound like anyone else.
Mm-mm. No. Yeah, I mean the noises he was making with the guitar, those squeals and the shit that he came up with is just unreal.
Sorry for the cursing. I tend to curse. I say stupid things. Energy, aggression, power. To sum it up, it's a vulgar display of power.
Sometimes I think you drink just a little too much blood.
I'm sorry, I'm going to be a Bloodaholics Anonymous.
Cutting it up big time.
They are miserable slaves of Satan.
Some cunts recording this.